Okay, this video is going to talk about the technical portion of the email marketing audit. There's two sections to this portion. There's the Postmaster Tools setup and then the domain authentication setup. Let's start with Postmaster Tools. So Postmaster Tools is a Google product, and it's the only way that you as an email marketer can see how many contacts that use Gmail mark your messages as spam. Okay, so it's the only way that you can get that information. Individual spam reports for Gmail users don't come back to your email provider. So Google makes you look at the data in an aggregate view as opposed to an individual view. Postmaster Tools also gives you a lot of other reports that help you identify how well you're doing in delivering your messages in a healthy way. The setup for this is pretty easy. When you create your account, it'll ask you to add your domain of the site, which you'll do. And once you've done that, it'll want you to add a text record like this to your DNS. Now, you as an email marketer probably don't have access to your DNS, even if you're on a small team. So you'll need to get someone from IT or engineering to do this for you. You will give them this instructions, they'll know what to do, and they'll put this value on the DNS records, which just proves that you are an owner of that domain. You have authority over it, and they can give you those reports. So once you've got your site authenticated, the data will stop populating. Now, there is a minimum threshold of volume. Google says it's 5,000 messages a day. I actually found that threshold's quite a bit lower than that. The exact threshold's not totally clear, but if you're a low volume sender, you might not get as much data in these reports as you would hope. One of the reports I want to walk through is your authenticated traffic. It monitors your DKIM success, your SPF success, and your DMARC success. Now, in an ideal world, every day of data you have for this is at 100%. You'll see in this screenshot that the DKIM success rate was at 100%, while the DMARC success rate was floating between 100 and 75, and the SPF was 0. So this will give you an indicator of where you need to start fixing things. You'll see in the audit that there's a domain authentication section on whether something's valid or invalid. This report here will tell you how well your domains are validated in the platforms that you do. And if you're having a low success rate, then you need to troubleshoot. The first place I would go to is your email service provider to make sure that you've done the setup with your DNS settings the right way. HubSpot has very clear instructions for you on how to set this up. But there might be other systems or things that send emails from the same domains, which you might need to fix. One other report that Postmaster Tools gives you is your spam complaint rate. And this is what I was talking about. It's the only way to see how often users mark your messages as spam if they use Gmail. You'll see that on a new version of Postmaster Tools, that they have these thresholds highlighted here. Google has said that if your threshold ever goes above 0.3%, that they're going to penalize you in your deliverability. So on any days where this is high, you're going to want to look into why it might be. Did you send something to a bunch of users that probably you shouldn't have? This data can be a little messy, so use it as like an indicator and not absolute truth. It's just directional to help you try and troubleshoot where issues might be. Now you'll notice in the audit, I have a field for this RUA address, right? This is in your DMARC record. So you'll see that if, like in this case, some of the stuff isn't succeeding or have a success rate that's high at 100%, you need more help figuring out why. And the purpose of this RUA address is to figure that out. So you can check to see if you have an RUA address by going to a DMARC looker, and you'll just put in your domain. And if there is a value, you'll see that there is this email address there. What happens is any day you send email to contacts, their inbox providers will send you back a report of all the messages that you sent to them. And they'll tell you how many of those messages complied or did not succeed in all of these authentication methods. So you can see that those reports will come into this for Pluralsight's. In Pluralsight's case, they've set up a specific inbox for DMARC, so these reports can come there. Now, they come in an XML file, which means it's helpful at least to have a tool or something that can read those for you. And there's a bunch of free ones online. Here's just a couple examples of what reports might look like. And what will happen is they will tell you how many messages came into these inboxes and will tell you the sender that sent them, right? So in HubSpot's case, it'll be able to identify that messages came from HubSpot. And then it'll tell you how often you passed DMARC, how often you passed SPF, and how often you passed DKIM. You can then go further into these reports, and it will give you different IP ranges if you're unsure who the sender was. It'll give you the IP ranges, and then you can start doing reverse lookups and figure out, hey, are these all from me? Did I not set up a certain system correctly? Do we have spammers that are trying to spoof our domain? And that'll give you an indicator of where you need to start fixing. So it becomes a little investigative if you have problems, but it's all necessary, and this needs to be set up so that in the case that something drops or something happens where domain is no longer validated the way you wanted it to be, you can start fixing that. All right, so that's the technical portion of this audit. Okay, this needs to go back kind of by the spam section too. So one of the things you'll need to look at with this audit is your IP and domain reputation. In Postmaster tools, these reports are very similar. And what they're looking for is, they determine how healthy or what kind of sender you are. If you're using good behavior, then they're going to give you a high reputation. And if you're doing less than ideal things, they're going to give you a lower bad reputation. The more poorly your reputation becomes, then your deliverability is going to suffer. And they give you two views. They give you an IP reputation view, and they give you a domain reputation view. Both of those things carry connected but different reputations. So just take a look at what those reputations are and mark those in the audit. In this case, it's a little bit generalized. It changes, right? It's mostly high with a little bit of medium and very few low. So generally speaking, it's a decent, I would say, high, and you can see too it's trending better. By the last month, it went lower, and so the total amount of highs grew. So those are the kind of things you're looking for. Again, don't hang up on the little things too quick. You're trying to get a quick view of your overall reputation to see if there's issues to fix. One thing I'd also make sure is just look at the spam complaint rates for the last 30 days. In this case, it's only at 14, but I would look at the last 30 days and see how many times your spam complaint rate went above that threshold. And then as you track it, you'll want a rolling 30 days to see if you can get that number down.